Hey there, nerds. Welcome to another Nerdlocker podcast. With me, we have Chase and newcomer Shane. Now, I say newcomer. Shane isn't really a newcomer. He runs our Deathlocker podcast, which is awesome. But he's joining us over here on the more calm, subtle, Nerdlocker side.
The softer side. I don't think I can say half my vocabulary on this podcast, can I?
You know what? We'll allow it today.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's fucking outstanding.
See, we took away Brandon, added Shane, and the intelligence just went way higher. So we are in luck, folks.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that. If you were going to go up or down.
No, Shane is way smarter than Brandon, if just experience alone. And I mentioned earlier that now, if you notice, Shane is similarly aged to myself, which makes Chase a little outnumbered on the generation scale, which I'm happy at because I don't know how many times I have to explain things to Chase, like what happened in the 80s and the 70s. He's sitting there going, hey, how was it, old man? I'm like, shut up, Chase. It's not nice.
Apparently I'm over here just drooling.
You got that beard though that catches all the drool, so I'm jealous. You know, mine's not quite growing out.
That happens every time I take a nap. It
just grows.
No, the drool.
Oh, I thought the beard goes. I was like,
I thought you were onto something. I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck, man? You like get a nap and someone just rubs some chia seeds in there, and you wake up and it's just full and luscious.
It's like I take a lot of naps, and that doesn't happen.
Well, I was thinking. You know, he shaved today and he takes a lot of naps, and that's what happened. Woke up clean shaven, a little bit of chia seed, vodka, wakes up, and there you go. Tree beard.
Nice.
I don't know if I should try that. It might end poorly for me.
Next week
I challenge you.
All around.
I challenge you, sir,
what
to
else are you
just
gonna
rub
do
some
right
chia
now?
seed. Yeah.
That's a good point. Don't really have anything else to do.
So we're in, this is like 7 weeks of shelter at home, gang. What are we doing? How are we passing the time?
Like we were talking before we started recording, I started collecting more posters. Still trying to keep up on my movie collection. It's kind of messy right now.
I like how you're looking around at your stuff. You're like, I
don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of messy.
One or two?
Yeah. We did a rough estimate a couple weeks ago. I have I think close to 1,000 Blu-ray.
Now do you collect like steel books, like special collector ones, or just whatever comes?
Both. Like this one, let's see, 1917. Paid like $40 for that one. That was really overpriced, but I wanted it. Or got this special edition for The Burbs.
Nice. Carrie Fisher, I love her.
So you double dip a lot in your collection?
Yeah, I have several copies of Quentin Tarantino movies. Just ones that come out with collector versions. I wanted to get
copy?
Like, do I open them? Yeah, I open them.
It's like you might watch like Pulp Fiction, the one, and then you're like, I gotta watch this again. So open the other one, and then you're like,
it's completely different.
Yeah, it's so much different with this other packaging. It's a whole different experience.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. What about you, Jimmy? What about you?
Catching up on Westworld. I have no idea what's going on, which is pretty typical. So
Is it worth starting or?
Oh yeah. You've never watched any of it? Oh yeah. It's a great show. Jonathan Nolan does a fantastic job with the writing. I thought the first 2 seasons were great, first one especially, but now it's gotten to a point where they're out of actual Westworld. And so I'm a little confused on how they're tying it back to some of the things they've already built. And there's one more episode coming out this Sunday. So in typical fashion, I assume they're just going to tie it all together. I'm like, oh yeah, duh, that makes sense. But so far, I'm lost.
I heard someone comparing it to Blade Runner. Is that The 13th?
No, not at all. I'm actually watching it. I turned Blade Runner off.
You couldn't help it, could you?
Wait, which one? Ridley Scott or Dennis, whatever?
They just said Blade Runner.
Oh yeah, you're right. I turned both off. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're both boring as fuck movies.
I gotta go.
I mean, it's like, what, 19 different cuts of Blade Runner?
Shane is like my favorite. Brandon's never coming back.
So since there's like 19 different cuts of Blade Runner, what do you have? Like, it's like half your collection Blade Runner DVDs and Blu-rays?
I'm not as bad as Rainbow, all right? I got
let's clear this up. Nobody is as bad as Rainbow.
I hope he sees this.
Well, there's a rumor that Rainbow calls his penis Blade Runner, so I don't know how that works in the sack, but...
All right, so Jimmy's is Lucifer, Rainbolt's penis is Blade Runner. I gotta come up with a name for mine.
For your penis?
I'll let you know.
Smiley.
Nice.
Nah.
I mean, if the hair down there matches the hair up there, you call it your little hobbit hole. Well, I guess that would be another thing. Hobbit hole.
Mad World.
Hobbit hole is what he crawls into.
Just call it Frodo.
Frodo implies it's little.
Yeah, but if you call it Frodo and you go and you're looking for a cock ring, you're looking for your precious. This works out very well.
And you rely on Samwise to do everything, so it's perfect.
Or that's like a total
that implies I'm gay. What's going on here?
That's a total pickup line to anybody. Hey, I'm looking to get into my precious. I'm just saying.
Should I do the impression too when I say it?
Yeah. Well, let's give the world the world premiere of your impression right now. Not that you're on a spot or nothing.
All on you mean?
Yeah. You're going to pick somebody up and you got a little Frodo.
Precious.
Yeah, but how would that go towards the actual pickup line? Like create a whole pickup line referencing either your hobbit hole or Frodo, depending upon what mood you're in at the moment.
I don't know how you get much further than I call my penis Frodo and then not get slapped.
Well, depends on where you're at, man. If you're at a Comic-Con, that might get you all kinds of action.
Yeah. Did you try that?
Yeah, with a dude, but
Or it could be a girl who's halfway there, or it's cosplay, man. I mean, who knows? Maybe you throw on a little costume, you get into some furry action.
You a big furry?
I am not a big furry. I am not. There's a whole story I could share about somebody and this whole thing, TeddyCon, that I'm not sure if Jimmy's aware of this. It's a inside joke, but not safe for work. Look up TeddyCon someday.
Okay.
Your world. You know what? Look it up right now on your computer.
Do it on your work computer.
Yeah, on your work computer. Yeah, the light's coming on. Let's see.
I know. Look at that screen. Oh.
TeddyCon. Dun, dun, dun. He's looking up TeddyCon. What I've been doing while you guys are off fucking watching movies and stuff is I've been bettering myself, and I went ahead and jumped back into school. Because after my carpal tunnel kicked in from a lot of masturbation, I decided to start up on my PhD so I can be smart.
Am I on the right website? Like, what is this?
Chase is lost. Shane, what are you going back to school for? I find this hilarious.
Parapsychology.
And I find this hilarious in that we're all screwed because he's just going to analyze us.
Well, and so a few folks, and I'm like, I'm going to get my doctorate in parapsychology. You're like, well, that's weird. My master's is in psychology. And my logic is psychology is a baseline hard science, whether it's evidence or non-evidence based. But in order to have greater context overall on how people think, you have to have insight into, you can't just say someone's crazy because they think of spirits, or you can't just say someone's making decisions that are cultural or environmental or religious based and not have an understanding of the supernatural elements, the religious elements, all those kind of things. So it's mainly to get a greater insight overall into the therapy side of psychology.
Are you trying to become a superhero?
I'm
what's going on?
Super villain, maybe.
Okay. Can I be one of your henchmen when you?
Well, you got the beard for it, but
Cool.
You might have to dress up in a little costume to for be like a furry. Or what did Teddy Khan tell you about?
Well,
don't be scared.
Is your computer full of viruses?
Is this? I mean, am I in the right? A fun-filled weekend for. I don't know what this is. Featuring play space full of toys.
You're skipping over so many words.
Crafts, pageant, movie time, vendors. What the fuck is this? Is this for like pedophiles? What is this?
Look at some of the roles.
This is fucking strange, man.
You've
been to this?
No. There was as sanitized as I can tell the story.
Getting out of here.
There was an individual years ago who, due to the magic of the internet, some of their personal information, and this is when some of the collectors groups were a little bit smaller, some of their personal information got shared amongst us 12-year-olds in the poster business, and several rabbit holes were gone down just because, like Wikipedia, you hear something like, what is this? You start looking for it. And lots of disturbing pictures were found, lots of disturbing websites were found, and all roads led to TeddyCon. This individual was on their way to TeddyCon when their significant other found out about the double life.
So it's like a play place for adults.
Yes. Who like to wear diapers and be spanked, and
I'm seeing that. Good God, man.
Are you a naughty boy?
I don't know how to answer that, man.
I don't know. You're still looking at the website, so I'm thinking there's a little bit of a curiosity going on there.
You said it earlier. It's like looking at a car crash. I had to see it again.
That's kind of how the rabbit hole went down. Is you start looking at it, you're like, this is weird. I mean, this was before I went towards the psychology path in my education years and years ago. You start to make some snap judgments based off of things, and then you're like, okay, this is just interesting. And yeah, it is a rabbit hole and an interesting story that is not for the public consumption. But someday, if we're ever in the same place and time in real life, I will totally share it because it's fucking awesome.
Do you know that story, Jimmy?
No, I don't.
Ask Aaron.
I'm very curious at this person.
Aaron knows. We actually referenced it on one of our Deathlocker episodes, so it shows how much you listen to us.
I never said I listened.
Yeah, I know. You didn't even listen. I don't even think you listened when you were fucking on it that one time.
I do, because I remember the story with Kitchen. That still haunts me.
The one about him in the back alley?
Yes.
Yeah, it was on that episode we started talking about that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. You just tone us out.
Maybe, okay, Mr. Psychology, maybe I have blocked that out. And there's a alternate personality that's going to come out someday. And
for Nerdlocker's dozen of listeners, you can see that Deathlocker is kind of like the redhead stepchild of the team. Every once in a while we get to come up for water like the guppies and get a little bit of air. Please, please, please give us some attention. It's okay though. It's okay.
See, now
I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter or anything.
I got to go back to school and get my psychology degree so I can help you, Shane.
Yeah, we can start our own podcast of, people can call in and we can dissect them. Or just go grab people and dissect them for real and tape it. Whatever works best.
Like physically dissect them? Or?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
There's countries where we can do that.
Think of the ratings, Chase.
I mean, I did live in Sri Lanka for a few years. I know where to hide some bodies.
So you're a big horror fan, right?
Horror and Disney, which is a weird combination, but horror and Disney.
I can see the correlation. It's all fucking bizarre.
So why is Disney bizarre? Because it was created by a guy who is living in a cryodome and was a Nazi.
Yes.
Now I see why you get along with Kelly so well. They're exactly the same.
Weren't half the cartoons made from people on LSD and mushrooms and God knows what.
If you look at half of the music that people know and love from the 60s and 70s, it's music that was made from people on LSD and mushrooms. Or if you look at art throughout the history, people who were on LSD or mushrooms. So not that I'm a big fan of LSD or mushrooms, but I wouldn't discount them through the artistic process.
I was actually looking up. There's a particular musical score that pops up in a bunch of movies, not just horror movies, but it's supposed to imply danger or death. And I was always curious where the sound came from, and I forget what it's called. It's like Dies Irae or something, and it's some particular musical score that originated over 800 years ago, and that they're still using it in movies to this day. And I had heard it in God, they put it in Star Wars, actually.
A music score that was created 800 years ago.
It was created by the Catholic Church to they played it during funerals.
Oh, like medieval times? I mean, my timeline's horrible, so like medieval times type stuff, or
like 1600s, 1700s, I think.
My history really starts and ends with whatever's happening on the Curse of Oak Island. So that's all the history I know. So if it doesn't involve the Knights Templar or the Spanish or whatever else crazy stuff goes on as they're searching for their treasure at Oak Island, I have no idea how history works.
One of the most popular, versions of this song is the opening score for The Shining. The dun dun dun.
Okay.
Dun. Yeah, that score is over 800 years old. I was watching a movie and I just thought that was really interesting.
You should set that up. So, I'll set that up somehow. So walk in my house, just that music starts playing. Open the door, cool. Like, da, da, or I'm in the bathroom taking a poo. Da, 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 da.
That's Chase's favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Or during intercourse as you're about to
climax.
As you're about to climax.
Yeah. Da, 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 da. I mean, that's something that Lucifer over here would probably be into.
I dig it. That's new information. I did not know that.
I was watching a horror movie a little bit before I was doing that little bit of research, and it gave me an idea for a story I wanted to do, and it just, like you said about rabbit holes, I just went down this rabbit hole of videos of different musical scores and where horror movies get their music and where it originates and everything. It's really fascinating. It's really kind of demented, some of it.
That sounds interesting.
The origins.
I did a fun research paper in film school on horror films, and that I love slasher films. And it never occurred to me that the United States is known for slasher films, and they really don't exist outside of the United States. Granted, this is 20 years ago. But my professor was very heavily into East Asian cinema. And he's like, yeah, that it does not exist in Asia, the slasher film. They're more of the ghosts and the haunted houses and that sort of thing. And it was just a weird realization, like, holy crap. I never thought of horror films being sort of a regional thing, and that, yeah, United States is really, we're the ones that own this Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees sort of thing.
Yeah, I would say Canada and the U.S. are really the ones in the 70s and 80s who pushed the whole cheap slasher movie. You know, was it in a slasher movie? You either have to have tits are killing every 7 to 11 minutes. That's kind of like the generic thing.
Yeah, it's true. And then it was funny because I guess as the 80s left, we came with the 90s, and those staples went away, and you had like Scream, which used a lot of those things that had been built up, but then didn't show that stuff, didn't do that stuff, and it became popular, so they went away.
So I always thought that the slasher movies should be played at churches, because if you look at a slasher movie, the people who do the right things, don't do the drugs, don't have the sex, they're the ones who survive, whereas all the jackasses are ones who get killed. So why not have a Sunday school, have little grandma, little grandpa hanging out, watching Nightmare on Elm Street Part 12 with the rest of their congregation. Every time somebody gets killed, the church jumps up and says hallelujah. I mean, it sounds like a good time to me.
To be honest, that's where like Wes Craven was a genius. Last House on the Left. Totally. These two innocent girls just test the waters with drugs, and then look what happens.
Yeah. Which has one of the worst fucking scenes ever with dude, and he puts the jaw on the.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
that
brutal.
one. That's one of those ones where you have those little sympathy tingles when you see something happen that you've done before. Like if you've ever skated and you see someone like rack themselves, you get those little tingles in your groins. That's one of those. I just get I can't watch that. That one in was it Pet Sematary, where the kid cuts dude's.
His Achilles. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just so simple, but the way the blade just goes through like butter, you're just like, ugh, just talking about it.
Oh yeah.
I was going to ask you, I just watched The House That Jack Built. Have you ever seen that?
I have not got to that yet. That's one of those ones, like for me at least, the last, I don't know, 6 to 8 months or so, watching like new horror movies has been kind of far in between just with a bunch of stuff going on. But I've been trying to catch up, and that's one of the ones that looked really interesting. Now, if memory serves, isn't there a director's cut version of that out as well?
There is.
Have you seen that one? Is that in your stack of 4 million Blu-rays?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to buy it. It's one of those. I watched it. I guess I'm glad I watched it, but I don't need to see it again. But they have the director's cut on YouTube to watch.
Okay. Yeah, that's one I wanted. I like Ethan Hawke. I think he's one of those actors that can kind of straddle the, make artsy independent stuff.
What's his? No, it's not Ethan. It's
Ethan Hawke, isn't it?
Matt Dillon.
Matt Dillon. Thank you.
Okay, Ethan Hawke, Matt Dillon, they look the same.
Matt Dillon's probably the biggest draw of the movie. He's really good in that.
Yeah. So Jimmy, when you go in to edit this, just pause my face and just say, Matt Dillon.
That's all right. What were we talking about? Sinister and what were those, Chase? And I'm just like, yeah, this one with Ethan Hawke, and they're like, no, that's whatever it is. I'm like, oh,
Ethan Hawke is in Sinister.
No, it was The Conjuring and the other one. I'm like, I don't know.
Oh, Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, it's that one.
Oh, okay.
Well, Ethan Hawke and Matt Dillon kind of had a very similar career trajectory. They kind of weave in and out of crappy movies, and they do some really good kind of low-key indie stuff or have some supporting things. You're like, this guy can act. And then they drop off again, and they just, I guess I like doing this with my hands. But, yeah, Jimmy's like, why'd I ask this guy on this thing?
No, this is the best we've done in ages.
But,
no, one thing missing. Mm-hmm.
But that's the one with Uma Thurman in it, right?
Yeah, she's in the very beginning.
Got it. At least I got one person right, so I get bonus points for that. Oh.
She looked rough in that movie. I don't know if she was supposed to, but
well, when I saw it, I didn't know if it's her or her stunt double.
Zoe Bell?
Yeah, has been making some, low budget type movies. So sometimes I'll see a picture or whatever, I'll get them mixed up because they look very similar in the face.
Yeah, The House That Jack Built's definitely one you gotta be in the mood for because it's really long and really fucked up.
Is it slow burn or is it just weird the whole way through?
It's artsy. Do you know who the director is?
I've heard of him, but I can't tell you.
I'm looking him up, and I'm like, oh, he did Dancer in the Dark way back.
It's Lars von Trier, yeah?
Yeah.
His main goal seems to be in any movie he makes to shock people. It doesn't seem like he's really going for much else. He did it with Nymphomaniac. I think didn't he do Antichrist?
Yeah.
Oh, I know it. Yeah, Antichrist.
Melancholia.
That was a weird one.
Yeah, he wants shock value, and that's kind of all he's going for. So, but he's also trying to be artsy about it. It's a very odd movie.
Okay, you want to see odd, and I'm just in a really odd mood right now. I don't know why. It's all the water, just the excitement of being on the Nerdlocker podcast, which I think people need to just like and subscribe right this minute for more of this content. But we're using Zoom, so I'm going to do a little quick screen share for you guys. And I'm going to play you a trailer for something that I've become enamored with because I think it's going to be the world's worst movie. Rainbolt, we referenced, has watched it, and he said it's the world's worst movie. But just the concept of it is fucking stupid. So I'm going to screen share right now. I'm going to share my audio. Let's see if I can do this without fucking it up.
I don't know. That's kind of high praise because, like, the FP, that thing was...
Oh, no. This makes the FP look like...
Are you serious?
Yeah. I love me the FP. Yeah.
So what do?
Detective.
You look every detective ever.
Oh, yes? Ow.
He's got the greasy hair and the earring. Looks good. You look good.
What about you?
You can see this is a serious movie, so serious faces, guys.
The name alone has got me. Are you serious?
Yeah, this is serious, man. This is some Oscar bait.
Tragedy strikes Critica County today as law enforcement have yet to make any headway on the missing child that vanished from Kathman Park this morning.
So you're asking me to go off this theory you got about a white married male who happens to be a father living in the suburbs of Critica County, who also happens to be your AA sponsor, has been secretly running around, cramming objects, animals, and children up his ass. Then he somehow digests them, and he does this in sprees, almost in serial killer fashion. Is that about it?
Uh-huh.
What?
It says it's a real genius movie.
I love these.
I just have to think how many versions of this Blu-ray are going to come out that you're going to buy, Chase. How many copies?
Every? And then burn them?
Wow.
The Dirty Harry look on his face.
In theaters. This would have played in theaters, but the fucking coronavirus stopped this from being out there.
Oh, God.
That's why it happened. Wait, okay, so did you see the advertisement for the next video right there?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I already turned it off. I'm sorry.
It's called Swallow, right?
Yeah.
Have you heard of this movie?
I haven't.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's really fucked up. It's about this lady who marries this rich family, and I guess they tell her, I mean, in every way you can imagine, how to live her life, how to take care of her body as she's pregnant, and she feels like she has no control. So for some reason, she starts eating random things because she feels that's the only way she can have control in her life. And it starts with a marble.
That's like an actual psychological disease.
Yeah, I've heard it's really uncomfortable to watch. Hers really fucked up. I was going to bring it up, and it actually showed it at the end of there.
That's a downer. I was getting all funny haha about Butt Boy, and he goes and brings up like a serious, it's a real movie about this woman who's just feeling like she has control. It's the only way she has any control of her life is just to swallow things, because that is the tiny bit of control that she has in her life, the tiny bit of pleasure she has in her fucking existence. Her sad sack existence is to fucking swallow marbles.
We all have our roles here on Nerdlocker. I'm the downer, I guess.
I know, man.
Big time. Big time.
See, I thought you were going to go someplace totally
Jimmy's
different with Swallow.
Star Wars.
Yeah, that's about all I do.
Actually just got an email from IFC. They sent me a bunch of movies to watch. I just watched the Wretched. It wasn't too bad. Witch movie. And then they had another one called The Wind. Sort of a
I just love these names. The Wretched, The Wind,
Yeah,
The Frame. You know, at least Butt Boy's got like a whole thing. He's got 2 words, butt and boy. It just draws
The Witch
it
was
together.
generic title, and I love that movie. So I mean, it doesn't.
Well, it was the Witch or VVH.
VVH.
Yeah. Sounds like your JJ's got an itch.
I finally did see that. That was pretty good.
You liked it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I honestly say I liked all the poster art better than the movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think maybe for me it's one of those you kind of got to be like Hereditary. You got to be in the mood to watch it. And both times I tried to watch those movies, I was just looking for like something quick to watch to like kill some time.
Yeah. No, and Hereditary is not that.
And I'm just watching like, you know, slow burn.
What do you think of Hereditary?
I couldn't tell you a thing about it, man. I found myself playing with my phone on it. I just wasn't in the mindset for it. I really, with a lot of movies, I have to be like in the right headspace to really appreciate them, where I just get the ADD kicks in and I'm just like, oh, this is just.
Yeah, that's my favorite horror movie now.
I turned it off.
Huh?
I turned it off. I was bored.
It's a slow burn, man. I mean, for slow burn movies, you really got to like, what was it, The Innkeeper? I really liked The Innkeeper. A lot of people didn't like The Innkeeper. But that was a boring-ass, slow burn movie up until like the last few minutes. The House of the Devil. Boring-ass movie up until the last few minutes.
It's awesome you bring up Innkeeper, Shane. I have not seen it, but rumor is, back in the day, Cubby peed his pants. I don't know if it's true or not.
Like just peed him all over the place?
He just got scared. That's rumor. I don't know. I wish Brandon was here to verify, but yeah.
Well, it's, you know, in today's age, if there's no video, it didn't happen.
I know, it's sad.
So I got a question for you, smart individuals. Somewhat breaking news on the Nerdlocker podcast. Breaking news that's already been reported thousands of other places. But yeah, for us, it's breaking news. Universal and Regal have both come out and said that they are not going to show. Not Universal, I'm sorry. AMC and Regal have both come out and said that they're not going to be showing Universal movies because Universal's like, hey, we put out the Trolls and made some money on VOD, you know, got more money out of it than we thought we would. So what do you guys think? Is this a landslide, a slippery slope? Are the big major theater chains going away?
This is kind of an gray area for me because I love the theater experience. So I support them in that regard. I'll always love that. But to deny the way that movies are going, you know, video on demand, everything coming streaming, to deny that it's going to kill them off. And I think there needs to be more wiggle room between them.
So what would be your perfect world? If you were the guy who could just wave your magic wand, and by magic wand, I don't mean Frodo, and say, bam, this is what's going to happen, what would happen?
Ideally, like if my concern wasn't money, then it would be to release everything at the same time. If you want to go to the theater, go to the theater. If you want to just watch it at home, watch it at home. But I understand from a financial standpoint, that's not exactly viable. I think maybe they need to, I don't know, shorten their window. I think it's a 90-day window they have.
Yeah, for some of them, depending upon where it fell on their little magic schematics of it. You know,
like the bigger movies usually it's a 90-day window. Maybe lessen it to 60 or something. You know, you got to meet these guys halfway because people are gonna stop going to your theaters, especially now. Now is not the time to try to make a stand against one of the biggest studios in the world. So,
what are you thinking there, Jim Malicious? I can see your brain.
I am. I got some opinions. I'm really glad you brought this up, Shane. I think Universal's a piece of shit. I truly believe, because they've been trying to pull this stuff with the theaters for a while, and they use this moment to say, yeah, it's success. We can do it now. It's like, no. That's crap. This was an instant in time where you put out a kid's movie and all these parents are just craving 2 hours to get away from their kids, to have them do something. And now you're saying, and you put this out in a major press release, in a major interview, I should say, not going behind the scenes like, hey, theaters, we experienced a success. Is there something we could work out? No, it was a planned marketing move to do this interview and say, we had great success. We're going to do it with other movies. We're going to maybe release things on demand and in theaters at the same time without checking with the people who actually release these movies, the theaters themselves. I don't think a lot of studio heads understand the distribution model and that you can't just do that. I get that you want to go straight to the demand where the money is, and your movies cost a lot of money to make, so you want to have that return. But at the same time, you need to talk to the people that actually distribute these movies. Yes, it's way easier for me to watch a movie at home, but there's a theater experience. I mean, there's a reason why people, and I don't agree with this, but people clamor when Christopher Nolan or Tarantino release films on 70 millimeter, and people are like, oh my God, we got to go to the theater to see this. It's on film. There's a reason why people love that. They want to go get the experience. They want to go see the actual film. Well, we don't have that technology as readily as we used to. So now we're in this digital age. We want to go to the theater. We want to see it on this huge, gigantic screen with the sound and the effects, the way the film was meant to be seen with an audience. I can't imagine going to see like Endgame without the audience with me cheering as Captain America gets Mjolnir for the very first time, and then Avengers assemble. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's just, without that experience, those movies aren't the same, and you could certainly watch it at home, but I don't think you're going to have the success. So I'm very happy that AMC and Regal following up, coming out and saying, no, forget you. We're not going to show your movies. I do think this is sort of Sony, Marvel, Disney saying with the Spider-Man thing, and it's going to be worked out in the end. I don't think it's really going to stick, but I'm happy to see the theaters pushing back and be like, no, you can't do that. We got to have some kind of agreement in place. You can't just go and do this without talking to us first, because we're a major part of your business and you're making decisions without us.
I've got kind of a weird take on it. I'm not inherently upset with AMC and Regal for saying that, but the flip side is I think that's going to hurt AMC Regal the more they try to sit there and keep their foot down on it. My perfect world, and some people are like, well, that sucks. I kind of want to see these big theater chains disband. I would love to see the big theater chains kind of cut down a lot, disband, maybe become like a mall-only experience, and see these smaller mom and pop theaters in towns have a resurgence. And like, you guys are saying about changing the business model, how the studios open up their libraries to these smaller theaters where you can actually have, like back in the day where you had like somebody who would program a theater experience for the month in a theater. So yeah, you still have your big tentpole ones, but if they're going to be still released video on demand that same day, the studios that's releasing them takes less of a cut on that ticket, a substantially less of a cut in the ticket. So then the people who want to go to the movies, they'll be the ones who will go to the movies, and the studios can kind of double dip a little bit. And in between those big tentpole releases, like your Nolans, your Tarantinos or whatever, you start seeing like re-releases of things that need to be seen in theaters. I always, every time Ghostbusters plays in a theater, on one of the Fandango or on the Turner Classic Movie Nights, depending upon the theater you go to, I'll always go and see it. I've seen Ghostbusters and Halloween and Aliens more in a theater during those times than I've actually watched them on a physical or digital media.
I go to
now that we have digital projection, that is so easy. I don't know why that doesn't happen more.
Yeah, I like the old mom and pop theater, experience way more than going to an AMC and look at your ticket and like, okay, I got to go to theater 412. That's just me. I live in Oklahoma, where you drive around and you see these old theaters that have been converted into churches or, whatever. And you're just like, it would be cool to have a theater going experience model that was actually sustainable. Maybe you're not going to make $1 gazillion, but it'd still be profitable for somebody who wanted to do it. And I have a place up in Big Bear, and they only have one little small theater that has like 4 screens. That's it. One little small theater, movie plays for a week, next movie comes in. Movie plays for a week, next movie comes in. It's like there's not a lot of little small mom and pop places. And even like you look at Alamo, Alamo Drafthouse originally kind of had that small mom and pop vibe, but now it's a big franchise. So you kind of lose, even though they try to stay little bits. Hey, look at us, we're cool, we're trendy. I mean, it's a franchise now. It tastes like a franchise. It's different than what it was when it first started. Landmark theaters used to have, that's one of the smaller ones that, they went and they bought up all those little small independent, theaters, and now it kind of tastes like a franchise.
That small theater you were just talking about, the 4-screen, they play new movies?
Yeah, but only for maybe a week and a half.
And then it just goes away?
Yeah, because so up in the mountains in Big Bear, it's a very small community.
What do they do like during slow weeks, when there's nothing big released? Or
they only run, they don't, during the weekends, they'll have showings in the afternoon. During the weekdays, the earliest showings like 7 p.m. So they'll have like maybe 2 or 3 showings.
Okay.
And that's one of the problems with the business model. And it's been a while since I worked in the theater, but it was the movie theaters don't make money off the movies themselves, a very small percentage, unless it's one of these movies like, again, this is how old it was, like back in the day with Blair Witch. That was in the theaters for a very long time. So the theaters themselves can make money off of it, but they're making money off the concessions and such. So to make this play with the Universal, and I know other studios are thinking along the same lines because they want to give this access to people and get their money right away. It hurts the theaters, even if they're the chain or the mom and pop, it doesn't matter because they're making these same deals where the theaters aren't making the money off the movies. They're making it off the concessions.
That's where if you go to the mom and pop thing, where if you're going to release video on demand,
yeah,
and that's where a majority of your revenue stream is going to come from, you reduce the amount that maybe the studio reduces the percentage that they take from that ticket sale. Because it's a big tentpole movie, they take a lot more money. And you mentioned Blair Witch, the deal for every movie has like a different deal attached to it. So I'm sure Blair Witch, the movie theater, got a higher percentage of that ticket sale because no one thought that it was going to be what it was.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So that's why it was cheap and it was sustainable, and we didn't have as many blockbuster movies coming out. I mean, now we live in a world where almost every week, even on the off season, there's something coming out that's supposed to be big, huge, and the expectation is going to make 100 million, 200 million in its opening weekend.
Well, and look at the business model on the aftermarket. Look how bad that's changed. Chase, we're going to go back in the Wayback Machine here. When Shane and I were growing up and VHS was popular, VHS copies, or even Betamax back then, were over $100 when they first came out, and that was only through distributors that were rental. And they weren't Blockbuster. They weren't whatever, Hollywood Video. They were mom and pop shops. And those slowly went away, and then you got the Blockbusters and the Hollywood Videos and those coming up. But those are absolutely gone. And now you have Redbox, where you have, if you want, for $1 or whatever they are now, or the Netflix that would mail it to you. And now it's just all on demand, basically. Anything you want, the secondary market, you can buy it for $20 on iTunes if you want. It's that model has changed so bad. So I do agree with you guys. I think that the first run, it was going to change, has to change. People are craving that. But I also think that those two need to come to the table and sort of do this behind the scenes so we don't get this Marvel Sony disagreement out in the open. We don't need to see this.
They definitely need to communicate more.
Yeah.
So how long before
scare tactics, really?
How long before a major studio buys up one of these chains?
Well, that's what it used to be way back in the day.
I heard Disney was thinking about that, weren't they? Before all this?
Yeah, I heard Disney was looking at somebody, but then I was reading that there's like it potentially could fall on like a weird monopoly type thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Because Disney was trying to buy Sony too, and yada yada. But that's what I'm wondering is, if you get one of these, let's say Disney, because probably the company that's in the most financially secure position to do something like that. Let's say they buy out AMC Theater. And they say, okay, AMC Theater is now going to be a Disney property. And they refused to play stuff from other companies, or they say, yeah, sure, other companies, yeah, if you wanted to play an AMC Theater, you have to give us more of the cut on the ticket, so they're able to double dip against their competitor.
Slippery slope for sure.
I think right now, doesn't Disney own like 20% of Hulu or something?
I think it's more after they bought Fox.
Is it more?
Yeah, because I thought it was something like in 2020 they were going to start to get the full share of Fox, and then the option to buy NBC's take. I don't remember the exact deal back when they bought 20th Century Fox, but it was a lot, which is also in timing with NBC starting up their own streaming service.
Yeah, so Disney is slowly just
they're going to own everything soon.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. They're getting hit hard with this because all their parks are shut down, and they're not getting that.
Yeah,
revenue, and they're not getting revenue from the movies because that's not going on.
As soon as it opens up,
yeah, it'll bounce back. But right now, they're not.
I mean, so I'm here in Oklahoma, and the governor put out, hey, phase 1 of letting people go out and do stuff again was last Friday, and so we've been trying to go hit up, Walmart to grab our stuff just once a week, and it was completely packed. I mean, it was like super duper like Black Friday packed because people are fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
A person can be smart. People are stupid. And that's what's going to happen with Disney. Once Disneyland opens up, people are going to talk a big game, and they're going to say, hey, Corona this, we got to be safe, social distancing, yada, 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 bing, bang. But they're all going to flock. They're going to go. They're going to give Disney their $400 for a one-day pass so they can ride the little twirly wheel. That's what's going to happen. People are going to, as soon as they can go be consumers again, they're going to be consumers again.
Oh, I guarantee that's going to happen in our casinos here in Vegas. Guarantee that's exactly what's going to happen.
But yeah, man, I mean, to me, that just seems like that's how it's going to go. Hopefully something useful will happen, and there'll be a podcast next week and the world won't collapse.
Fingers crossed.
Awkward silence.
Any last comments, Chase?
You guys are old? I don't know. I'm just joking.
Oh, man. Ow, that hurts, dude.
Okay, let's test the knowledge. So you were saying about how, videos used to cost $90 or whatever.
Yeah.
And you had to buy them from the distributor. What was the first VHS movie to be priced for the consumer?
What was the first VHS movie to be priced?
Very first VHS movie that when you went to the video store, you could pre-buy it, you could own it. It was released with the intent for the consumer to buy it. The very first one.
Oh, wow.
I have no idea.
I don't know. It would be a guess. I don't know.
Good Morning Vietnam.
Really?
Yep.
That late?
1999. Not the year, but that's how much it cost. The VHS tape.
So what you're saying is it was released immediately to the secondary market
when it came out for rental, you could pre-order it for like $19.99, and I think it went for like $29.99 if you didn't pre-order it.
I had no clue. Interesting.
Yeah, Good Morning Vietnam. Fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
Yeah, I think with that, we'll let Chase go play with his Hobbit or his Hobbit hole or his Frodo. And
yeah.
Well, I got to sign up for TeddyCon now.
Yeah, man. Next week, you can tell us about your sign-up experience on TeddyCon and making some new friends on TeddyCon and what your TeddyCon name is going to be.
And that is what we call a tease in the industry. So, folks, thank you for watching. We will be back next week with Chase's firsthand report of TeddyCon. Until then, have a nerdy week.
And please listen to Deathlocker, please.
Seriously,
please.
Deathlocker is awesome.
Yeah.
They have awesome conversations, and they talk way more horror than we do. We need more.
Really don't have awesome conversations, but just we're sad people who need some sort of affirmation that our existence is useful.
Bye.